What dollar amount do you think is in the average person's 401k at between ages 60 to 69, the retirement ages?
I have no idea. Tell me.
$98,000. Between 180 and 200,000, it fluctuates. And those are based right off of like all of the big companies, the Fidelity websites talking about the average balances. And there's a reason for that. A lot of people blindly invest into things because somebody 40 years ago told you that this was the best idea and your parents passed that down to you and then you pass it down to your kids. Nobody ever really learns. Most people's problem is that they operate without a plan. Most people just kind of drift through life, making it by, but not really taking any risks. Or if they do take risks, it's the wrong ones and they don't get enough info on them. Getting out of the military, it was really fun because I was going through a medical board, meaning that I got medically retired versus regular separation. If it were to work and I get approved, which it did, then you get access to healthcare benefits for the rest of your life, and you'll also get your disability like any veteran would, and it gets you immediately processed out of the military. I was already going in for 6 years. I actually stayed a little longer and had to extend my contract, waiting for my medical board to go through. Those are notorious for lasting forever, is the nicest way to put it. Immediately after that, got divorced from...
Hey, let's welcome Trystan Pope, a U.S. Navy veteran and the owner of the financial agency. Good to see you and welcome to the show.
I'm doing good, thank you.
Great. Why don't you start with your story? How did you join the Navy? What was your path? What did you do after leaving the military? Anything you want to share just to kick this off?
Yeah, sure. So I joined the Navy in 2017, right out of high school. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so the only thing I had as any sort of marketable skill to get me into college without having to pay for everything, student loans, would be being in band. And I just didn't have that as a future of my own. I was good at it. I liked it. Wasn't enough for me to dedicate my life to it. So I decided to join the Navy from there. And no idea what I was getting into. I ended up getting into the cybersecurity industry, doing analytical work, and I got to do lots of cool, fun stuff for the government while I was in the Navy in the cyber world, and decided that, you know what, maybe it was time that I focus on an actual career. So got out of the Navy after 6.5 years, got medically retired, thank God. Beautiful with all the benefits that you get. But that's more or less my story. Stayed in cyber a little bit longer, ended up realizing that I wanted to work for myself and not for other people, and that it was a lot more advantageous to do it that way. So I had an opportunity to get into the financial industry and help people with their finances, help them learn how to retire, learn how to invest their money, how to cover them and their family, protect their assets, those kinds of things. So I decided to go into that full time and build my own business. And it has been an absolute blessing to do that ever since.
Interesting. So both industries, financial and cybersecurity, require some kind of background or education. So did you pick it up as you went through this, or did you have to go to college, or how
Yeah,
did
great
that?
question. So in cyber, I was taught everything by the Navy. I went through tech school, course called Joint Cyber Analysis course, which is actually the same course I went back to teach as a government contractor after I got out of the Navy. So that was a good time. So I got my training through that, and naturally I got my credentialing and certifications, and I'm actually still finishing up my degree for an industry I'm not even going to be in ever again, just because I'm using my military benefits, my GI Bill, to pay me to go to school. And I was already more than three-fourths of the way done with that degree before I got out of the industry. So, and then the finance industry, it turns out, through a little bit of dedication, about a week of studying, and the rest being common sense, you can actually get licensed very easily with some licenses in the financial industry. And as long as you have the right mentorship and leadership and training, like I've had the blessing of being able to have with my brokerage that I partnered with, you can do anything, whether you have experience or not. And that it really is cool.
So tell me how you started your company. You said that there were folks who helped you with that, some
Yeah.
mentors. What was it like? And maybe some roadblocks and challenges that you faced, and then you overcame them.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say naturally, first things first, I was able to get into it because of a friend of mine that I joined or that I had served with when I was in the Navy here in Pensacola, actually, which was my last duty station before I exited the service. I met him. Him and I were always pretty close. But then he reached out to me one day. He's like, "Hey, I've been doing this financial advisor kind of like gig recently, and we're expanding, and we thought that you'd be a good fit here. And I remember you as this good person with integrity and lots of nice things to say." And I was like, you know what? I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial guy. I don't do those things. I've been in cyber for the last almost 10 years of my life. And he's like, well, all I ask is that you hear them out, and opportunity is an opportunity. So me being an opportunist, I took it, got in front of somebody that he put me in contact with the company. I joined on, got licensed, started helping some families, and realized that this line of work is so much more fulfilling. And that eventually led me to doing it instead of a part time basis, which I was doing, go into it full time. And the reason that I'm able to do that is to answer the other part of your question. The incredible mentors and leaders and training system that we have here at GFI. I have the ability to grow a financial agency while also having the mentorship of world-class leaders who are already making seven figures plus annually. So they already know how this works. They've had it figured out, but they want to build a business of their own in GFI and give people the opportunity to grow their agencies with their mentorship and training. And all of that comes together, makes it so easy to succeed. Like imagine if you got into a sports team, let's say football, and you're a brand new quarterback, you just started playing football a month ago, and then Tom Brady shows up. It's a pretty good chances that you're going to progress quickly and learn a lot of the things you need to learn early on. And I think that's kind of the same idea here.
And uh, do you work in an office or do you work remotely? How does this line of work works in
Yeah,
2025?
yeah, it's that's a great question. I mean, in 2025, what isn't remote at this point in time, except for the service industry and public services and stuff like that. But I get to work from home. I can work from anywhere. I've been thinking about opening a Pensacola office here, so we do have kind of an office environment for those that want it. But the beauty of this is that it's all completely remote, and I've been able to. I just got off of a 2 month road trip around the country to see some family, do some work events, go to some concerts, and I was able to work the whole time from my laptop. So actually, when you and I spoke about doing this exact podcast, I was still about halfway through my journey. I just got back home to where I normally live in Pensacola a couple days ago.
That's great. So, can you tell me more about what exactly you do in this agency? Do you work with clients and then provide them some kind of advice, or what are your services?
That's a great question. First things first, I help people with their problems, whatever that is for you. One of the benefits of this industry is that we're the only industry where working with me, I actually increase your net worth, not take away from it. You want to go buy something from Amazon, you're deducting money from your bank account. You want someone to check up and give you a doctor's checkup and make sure that you're healthy, somebody's deducting their bank account. But in our industry, the only interactions I have with my clients, people I work with, is their net worth goes up. And I think that's a really cool feeling to be in. But what we do is I'll sit down with somebody and go over their budget, go over their savings plan. And if they have any debt, we're going to look at their goals and their dreams, identify what they want to do. And in our brokerage, we're partnered with over 3 dozen different companies in the industry, Fortune 500 top companies, like the most highly rated companies in the industry. And then I can say, hey, this is what makes sense for you. These are all the companies that offer it. This one probably fits you best because of this scenario. And I get to truly help people with what their problems are. So there's a lot of different services that we have, but it all starts with sitting down and having a conversation. Do you have goals? Because no one person is going to be this. No two people are going to be the same. Somebody might be trying to retire in 20 years. Another one might be trying to buy a house in the next 10 years and want to position their money in a way that they can grow it in the meantime, but still have access to it down the line without risking a whole lot of it. There's so many different ways to help people, and I help everything. We like to say that the only thing we don't do is your taxes. I'm not filling out any tax forms for you.
Yeah. And have you noticed any patterns of or mistakes that people tend to make when it comes to managing their finances and then wealth? Maybe something that you can like give some kind of advice for listeners.
That's a great question. I think that the number one thing I see is most people's problem is that they operate without a plan. Most people just kind of drift through life, making it by, but not really taking any risks. Or if they do take risks, it's the wrong ones and they don't get enough info on them. And that leads people down the wrong path very often. I mean, you wouldn't drive across country without a plan about where you're going. You might. Maybe you just say, I'm going to turn on the keys and start driving in a direction and see where I end up. Sure, if that's the kind of person you are, I bet you're a minority of people. But most people, they don't have a plan. They say, I don't know when I want to retire, or I don't know if I want to buy a house. I want to be able to, but I didn't really think about it. That's what I see happens with most people, is that nobody spends the time thinking about it, because there's lots of statistics out there, but I'll tell you, a large majority, much greater than 50% of people in America alone, don't have a plan. They don't have an idea when they want to retire. And most people avoid the conversation because they're making less, they're barely able to pay enough money for their bills. People have majority of Americans have very few dollars left over each month. And the ones that do have a little bit are not spending their money and allocating it correctly in order to leverage it for themselves. Nobody really makes money until your money is making you money. We all work till death because nobody wants to take the risks, but life is supposed to be lived where you don't work until you die. I think a plan is the number one way to get there.
So you're saying that even in the current economic, environment, it's still possible to plan and to, achieve those financial goals, even though on the surface level it might seem like it's might not be possible to buy a house or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I think is important to note there is that a lot of people don't plan because they think 1K is enough, or just investing in a Roth IRA on the side is enough, or I have this one property and it should grow enough for me to retire someday because I inherited it. So many people think that one is going to work, and even a couple. But most people do something just to feel like they're doing something instead of looking into all their options. And to a lot of people's credit, there is not good information on the internet. I know that's hard to hear in 2025. Who would have guessed? The internet does not have all the answers to your questions, and you have to do a little bit of analysis and get with professionals that spend a lot of their time doing it. Whether it be like me or anybody, it doesn't have to be me, but somebody who truly wants to sit down and has your best interest at heart, not somebody trying to sell you something. But for example, I'll give you a statistic that most people find absolutely alarming when they hear it. When I sit down with them, is actually, matter of fact, Danny, what dollar amount do you think is in the average person's 401k at between ages 60 to 69, the retirement ages?
I have no idea. Tell me.
$98,000. Between 180 and 200,000, it fluctuates. And those are based right off of like all of the big companies, the Fidelity websites talking about the average balances. And there's a reason for that. A lot of people blindly invest into things because somebody 40 years ago told you that this was the best idea, and your parents passed that down to you, and then you pass it down to your kids. Nobody ever really learns. Most people just take the first person that tells them his advice, and that's the only research they ever do into the subject. And I encourage people to look into their finances and get with a professional because most people don't have a plan.
And if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do it?
That's really easy. Yeah, I have a link that I have tied to a digital business card that allows people to get on any of my socials or reach out to me and schedule an appointment with me on my calendar. But at the end of the day, you can just email me, call me, go to my LinkedIn, message me in any way you can find me. I run outreach and the ability to be contacted on basically every social media platform. So anything works, and I can definitely get that to you.
Yeah, yeah, let's make sure that link is in the description for the video. Yeah, that sounds great. And hopefully, a few folks listening could benefit from this and, change their trajectory in the long term.
Nothing
Um,
ever changes their trajectory more than having a financial plan. I'll tell you what.
let's talk a little bit about your military career. And
Mhm.
what I'm interested in is um, how you apply some of those skills from 6.5 years in the Navy to your current career or maybe to your life, relationships, or anything else.
That's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind, discipline, consistency. I think, especially being an entrepreneur now and having the opportunity to grow a business like I have, I've learned that that trait is even more necessary. I think it's the best way to put it, than anything else you could pop, any skill set. I'm going to teach my children when I have children. Consistency and discipline are going to get you everywhere in life. In every industry I've been in, cyber, the Navy, finance, and doesn't matter where I've been in life and the teams I've been on, everything always rings true. The best people in every single scenario are the people who show up every single day and they do the same amount of give the same amount of effort every day. Now, effort might not always look like doing the exact same amount of numbers or the exact same amount of appointments or sitting down and doing a lot more work or stocking more shelves at the grocery store, but 100% of effort is whatever you have that day. Things can happen to you in life, and that consistency will reign through if you just keep showing up and doing a little. Even if it's just a little bit every day, that consistency will always make you outwork the average. There's a saying I love hearing from my mentors and the leaders in my industry is that go the extra mile because the extra mile has very little traffic. And I think that's so true.
Nice, nice. And what about your transition out of the military? Was it hard mentally? Was it hard to adapt? Obviously, you found a way to, to find a career and become an entrepreneur, which is quite different from, following orders and serving in the military. So, what was that process like for you in that period?
That's a great question. I think that I'll be vulnerable and give a little bit of my backstory. My transition out of the military was definitely a fun one, between the fun being sarcastic, of course. I know my sarcasm sometimes gets missed by some people, so I'll make sure to tell you when it's sarcasm, but I'm sure a lot of people could feel that one. Getting out of the military, it was really fun because I was going through a medical board, meaning that I got medically retired versus regular separation. If it were to work and I get approved, which it did, then you get access to healthcare benefits for the rest of your life. And you'll also get your disability like any veteran would. And it gets you immediately processed out of the military. I was already going in for 6 years. I actually stayed a little longer and had to extend my contract, waiting for my medical board to go through. Those are notorious for lasting forever, is the nicest way to put it. Immediately after that, got divorced from my marriage that I had in the military. Of course, following those statistics, right? The statistics of military members and divorces, I know that rate's really high, but I think it's funny to compare that. And then starting a new job, being the first time out of the military. If you, especially for people like myself who went in directly out of high school and never really got real world experience right after high school, and the military is all they know, it's really hard to assimilate into a life where people aren't as motivated. I mean, there was plenty of people in the military I worked with who weren't motivated people, but they still followed the rules. They still did what they needed to do, and they still acted with discipline. And the military's way around that is just everybody complains. Complaining is the language of the military, but we all suffer through it together. So between that, starting a new job, learning how to assimilate with life and the rest of the world, going through a divorce, all those things, I think the process went a little bit easier for me than most people. Despite all those things, I still extremely happy. I found a new partner in life, found a new career, lost 100 pounds after going through that initial depression of being out of the military with all those things going on, and just completely rejuvenated my life. And it really is thanks to the kinds of people I'm around with my current career. I love the fact that I'm growing a business and I have people who reach out to me and check on me when I don't ask for it. And that's not something I've had at any stage of my life. I look back on it bittersweet. A lot of negative things happened, but I was able to flourish and find a way through that, through all of that pain and suffering and all the things that I went through. And it really did make it awesome. So, but I look back fondly on the military, all the things that I went through, because after my transition, life has got nothing but better for me and the new chosen family, as we like to call it, that I have based in my business and my friendships and my family that I do have. It is all incredible. So I look back on it with a lot of very little regret.
And what advice can you give to people who are currently in that stage, transitioning out of the military? Anything that you want to share with them?
That is also a great question. Definitely get in advance on looking for help. I actually work a lot with veterans in my field. A large market of people that I speak to, and especially a large market of people that I've brought into business with me in my agency, are all veterans or still active duty in some cases. And the number one thing I see when talking with those people is everybody feels like they don't have enough information. The amount of veterans alone that I've sat with just between their last like 6 months of getting out, most people have no idea what they're doing with their finances. They don't know what they're doing with their job. They don't know what they're doing with that. You don't need to spend 3 months building a resume like I did and then go try and find a job and then just end up settling on something local that I know will hire me right out of the military. You can have a plan. And we run our business, GFI, we have a whole armed forces division where we go and we go to different cities around the country. We have a 30-city tour going on right now where we get to go and market with veteran entrepreneurs and veteran business owners and other people finding success in all kinds of industries, not just finance, to give people a network like that. I encourage you, go find a network, whether it be with us at the Armed Forces Division or whether it be another veteran services organization. Go network now, because those opportunities will mean far more. You'll get a lot more information, and entrepreneurship is so easy for veterans, guys. You don't have to go be an employee for the rest of your life. It's a blessing to have a choice. I think that would be the number one thing, is get connected. You don't have to follow exactly what they tell you at TAPS class to be successful.
Great advice. And talking about mentorship, how can people find the right mentor who will help them in their career or any other field, just like your mentors help you?
That's a great question. I think getting laser focused is how you figure out where to get those people. Because there's people successful in every industry in the world. The good ones, the bad ones, the fun ones, the boring ones. It doesn't matter which direction you look, there's somebody at the top of that industry. So how do you get in front of those people? Figure out, get laser focused on what you want. For example, I only found my mentors because I was presented an opportunity to build a business in the financial industry, an opportunity everybody has, and because I was blessed enough, thank God, I was put in front of the right people. I'm on with the best mentors in the best company in the best industry in the world. And that's, I don't call that luck. I call that a blessing because those people happened. You can call me lucky. I was put in front of the best people on purpose, but it's because I knew what I wanted to do. I put intentional effort into finding the industry I wanted to be a part of. GFI came across my doorstep and it aligned with every single one of my goals. And just because I was so excited to be a part of it, naturally, all of my effort and time and energy that I put into it led me to be in front of the people who actually want to give their knowledge and successful stories and mentorship to. So just figure out what you want to do and attack it like it's the only job you have. Get obsessed over it, get it in the front of your mind, write big goals about it, and eventually you just keep doing what you know you need to do and grinding, and all kinds of opportunities will open. A lot of people say that you make your own luck, which is very true. You can be lucky and win the lottery, but you'll make your own luck by going and doing something really hard for a long time, or even for a short amount of time in a lot of cases. And all of a sudden, you'll start seeming more lucky because opportunity will show all over it.
And you also talked about leadership and how great leaders helped you along the way. What did you learn about leadership and how to be a great leader, whether it's the military or in business?
That's a great question. In my business, since I'm forced to be a leader of people, and I enjoy the opportunity to do it. I'm so blessed that I get to help guide people and people look to me. I definitely think that the difference between a leader is if you look at one thing that one of my friends in our industry loves to say is that if you think you're leading and nobody's following you, then you're just taking a walk. So it's definitely always be self-aware, always be aware of what your people think of you, what you need to be doing to even be want to be followed. And that's how you become a real leader is by inspiring people to follow you through results in your field, whether it be in the financial industry and how many families you can help, or how much money you make, or whatever metric you want to follow in your own industry. People will follow you if you're finding success. So just go be successful and you'll be a good leader. Now, so the number one thing I learned about leadership with that is just be a good person. People will follow you if you're a good person. You don't have to trick people into liking you. And naturally, you'll step into your role as a leader a lot easier that way.
Great advice. And before we finish the episode, do you have a final message to the listeners, to the world, maybe something that we haven't had a chance to talk about, or maybe something that you want to emphasize again?
Yeah, good question. I think if there was one thing that I could put out to the rest of the world is just be good people. The number one thing I've been able to follow since getting into this new industry and finding a new path in life and finding a bunch of people that I love to be around is that there's one thing that this environment allows me to do. And I'm so blessed because so many environments don't allow you to do this. And that's be myself. I can show up to work every day in my own house, talk to people all day long about their goals and their dreams, helping them achieve them, whether it be coming into business with me, whether it be becoming a client. It doesn't matter who I'm talking about. I get to help people and I get to be myself while I do it. So be kind, be nice, take responsibility for your actions, and most importantly, get financially sound, whether it's with me or anybody else who knows what they're doing. But I think that would be my number one message to the world. Be good people and get financially stable.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining and sharing your story and advice today. Again, the link to Trystan's work and company will be in the description. So if you're interested in those services, click on that. But again, thank you for joining. Great conversation and looking forward to meeting you in person.
Absolutely. By the way, They Not Like Us is real. This is a global financial impact hat. Nobody truly is like us. So if you're have any interest, check us out.
Great.